Hello and welcome to another episode of Uplifting or Lifting Up Champions with Scott Schilling. I'm your host, Scott Schilling. Thanks for joining us here today. This is going to be a great show, and I'm not going to go through all the accolades because we'd burn the entire show with the accolades if I did. Got a very special guest here today, Dr. Nepute, coming straight from St. Louis. Dr. Eric, thanks for joining us here today.
Scott, it's my pleasure. I love and appreciate what you're doing. Lifting Up Champions is such an amazing program. And you do such a good job giving light in the world where there's so much darkness. So I'm just excited to be here with you, brother.
Well, thanks. Again, you are a chiropractor with many practices. You are probably the lead doc, at least to my knowledge, the lead doc that called out some of the things with the pandemic and suggested we do some crazy stuff like take zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D3 to supercharge our bodies. But as we were talking just before we started, you said that doctor comes from the derivative of teacher. And I had never heard that before. Let's go down that path a little bit.
Well, first of all, Scott, you're totally right. I mean, I've been in practice now 20 years. I'm a high miles guy, right? I've been in practice 20 years, but it seems like I've been doing it for a couple hundred. I've got multiple practices throughout the country. I train doctors to do what we do. Plus, over the last really 2.5 years, I've been traveling all over the country, giving people information, right? Like you said, doctor is Latin for teacher. And my job is to teach, reach, inspire, and motivate as many people as we can on my topic of expertise, which is health, right? And I'm a wellness doctor. Well, what does that mean? That means my job is to look at the whole thing, right? I'm not just the right shoulder doctor or the, migraine headache guy or the digestive guy. I'm the guy that takes a step back and says, all right, you have a problem. What's the cause of it? And how do we find a solution for it? And so what I've really been doing is traveling all over, educating people on, number one, what health really is, because most people don't have a clue what that is. And when you don't know something, you are confused. And you get this thing called analysis paralysis, right? You don't know what to do. You don't know what to turn. So a lot of times you'll internalize and you'll get all this fear, which is false evidence appearing real. And so one of the main things that I've been talking about with folks is not just about taking vitamins and eating well and exercising and the things that we know that are basic fundamentals and pillars of health, but is to help them get the knowledge so that they have faith and that they have facts, because those are the two things that you need to destroy the spirit of fear. So that's really what my main message has been about. And it's about teaching people and giving them, and I'm a real big fan of teaching people how to fish versus let me go fishing for you kind of a mentality. So that's what I've been up to. And it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, one of the things that I train on a lot is one definition, 2 words. Confidence in the unseen, assurance of the unknown is the definition of fear, because I know I haven't seen it yet, but I know it's going to be bad when it shows up. But it's only verified and validated one place, Hebrews 11:1, as the definition of faith. Confidence in the unseen, assurance of the unknown, conspiring for our good.
Yeah.
And so I'm right there with you, brother. I want to do everything we can to dispel the fear that's out there. And one of the things that concept that I teach again is that knowledge begets confidence, and confidence then gives us certainty.
Yeah.
And with that certainty, we can take on anything, including this craziness that's been going on in our health world over the last couple of years. How are you helping share things like that?
Well, first of all, you're spot on. I mean, knowledge is power, right? It talks about in the book of Hosea, it says knowledge is power. Without knowledge, our people perish. But the key is it's not just knowledge, it's application of that knowledge. It's wisdom. It's right. What can you start doing now? What are the things that you can do now to help yourself get rid of that spirit of fear and improve your health and improve your faith? And so there's really like 5 or 6 pillars that I talk about a lot. And there's 5 basic fundamentals of health and simple little things that people will start putting into play right now, that can help them be healthier and help them understand that, they are in control of their body. They are in control of their health. And if you can control your health, then you are in control of so many other things in your life. Because I'll tell you right now, Scott, I've had people come from all over the world to see me and say, I would pay any price, do anything, travel any distance if I could just get my health back, because, I got enough money and time, but no health to enjoy it. I got a lot of friends and family, but no health to enjoy it. I mean, so health really is to me, your relationship with God and then your health are the two most important things to me, bang, 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 right there, because the body is the temple for the Holy Spirit. And if we don't know how to take care of this thing, we don't have a good playground for the Holy Spirit to live in. So let's go through real quick some of those pillars of health that are really simple that your listeners can start doing right now. One thing that is just blows my mind, and literally 20 years of practice, literally seeing over hundreds of thousands of patients, one of the most common deficiencies that I find with people is they're not properly hydrated. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, water, hydration? Yes, our body is like 80+% water, and we have to have water to do multiple things, like make new cells. We have to have it to lubricate our joints and body to move. We have to have water as a conduit to get the electrical circuits in our body to communicate. Every single cell in our body communicates with every single cell in our body through the nervous system. But if you don't have water in the body to conduct that, it's not going to work. There's a book that was written by a good friend of mine called You're Not Sick, You're Dehydrated. And we found that chronic dehydration is one of the main causes to daytime fatigue, digestive problems, blood sugar issues, muscle and joint pain, and the list goes on and on. So if your listeners would try to do this every day, just try to get, as an adult, try to get around 2 to 2.5 liters of water in your body every day. But with that water, what I tell folks is get that liter to 2 liter bottle, put a half of a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt in that water. It's 80% minerals. It's one of the healthiest things on the planet to eat. It'll alkaline your water, make it more absorbable, make it more living, and then take a half of a lemon, squeeze that in there. And you should drink that every day. Your skin will clear up, your energy will improve, your hormone function can improve, digestion can improve just by getting properly hydrated. So that's number one. Number two, well, we talk about water. Let's talk about foods. You know, I got asked at a nutritional conference years ago, what's the number one thing you would recommend to your clients to help them from a food standpoint get healthier? I said, well, here you go. Eat less food and eat it less often. What does that mean? We know that intermittent fasting, and I'm going to encourage all of your listeners to start looking up intermittent fasting. We know that eating within a small window of time. So I recommend to my clients, you know, let's skip our breakfast. Let's wait to have a meal, maybe around 1 or 2 o'clock, and then again around 6 or 7, eating within about a 6 to 7 hour window at first. Because when you're not eating, when your body's not dealing with digestion, the hormone function goes up, metabolism goes up, inflammation goes down. We know that cells can regenerate and immune system function can go up when we intermittently fast. So that's the second thing I recommend. We can go deeper in that, but that's a big one right there. Look up intermittent fasting.
It's amazing. So, I mean, just starting out,
Yeah.
well, just some common sense stuff, right? I mean, I thought you were going with the hidden messages in water when you were going with a buddy of yours wrote a book, but that's another great book because we are so much water, right? And all the value of that. And the intermittent fasting makes a tremendous amount of sense as well. Okay, so where do we go for number 3?
So here's the reality. The foods we eat right now do not have the nutritional content and value of foods that we ate last year. In fact, I remember growing up on a farm as a kid, tomatoes used to be these little bitty, really red, juicy things that tasted like tomatoes because they were filled with nutrients and minerals. We don't have that anymore because we don't let the soil rotate like we're supposed to. We're not being good stewards of the land. So we're spraying all this, GMO, glyphosate infused, chemicals on our food, and it's killing us. So if you're not supplementing, you're missing out. And I'm going to give you the 4 top supplements that all major wellness people are talking about right now. Number 1, vitamin D, and it has to be D3. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. 50 to 55% of all Caucasian people on the planet are deficient in vitamin D. Wow. Anyone who has Hispanic and darker skin, brown skin tone, about 70 to 75% of that group of people are deficient in vitamin D. Anyone who has dark skin, African-American individuals, 80% of those individuals are deficient in vitamin D. We're not able to absorb the nutrients that God gave us from the sun. And so vitamin D, by the way, is not even a vitamin. It's a prohormone. It's used in the immune system. It's used for all hormone production. It's used in metabolism. It's used in everything in your body, including the regulation of inflammation. So if you're low in D, you're going to have chronic pain. and also in the immune system response. So if you don't have enough D in your body, you can't produce killer T cells, B cells, all the things you need. So most Americans, most adults need to supplement around 10,000 IUs a day of liquid emulsified vitamin D. And it has to be D3, not D2. D3 is 65% more absorbable than D2. So that's number one. Number two is a mineral called zinc. Zinc is one of the most deficient minerals on the planet. In fact, everybody listening or watching right now, if you can, and it's safe for you, everybody look at your fingernails. If you look at your fingernails and you've got little white lines or little white circles, that's called leukoplakia. That's a sign of a zinc deficiency. That means you need to supplement with some zinc. Now, unless you're eating oysters every day, and most people don't do that,
Yeah.
you're not getting enough zinc in your life. And so zinc does about 300 different enzymatic things in the body, including producing testosterone, and it fights off viral replication. It's an immune system modulator. So if you're deficient in zinc, which most people are, you should supplement between 20 to 40 milligrams of zinc every day. Take it with a meal. That helps. Number three, Scott, is magnesium. Most people are magnesium deficient because that's the mineral that the body uses when it's under stress. Well, who doesn't have stress now? I mean, the last 2+ years have been the most stressful time of our lifetime that I can recall.
Absolutely.
And so we're seeing major mineral deficiencies of magnesium. So people have anxiety, depression, muscle aches, pains, they can't sleep, digestion gets screwed up. All those things are bad. So most adults need about 400 to 600 milligrams a day of magnesium. And I prefer any kind of magnesium other than magnesium citrate or magnesium lactate. Those two can cause diarrhea. So, minimize your exposure to those. Best if taken at bedtime. And the fourth thing, Scott, that we recommend is a nutrient called butyrate or butyric acid. By the way, this butyrate comes from a natural form of butter called ghee butter. It has to come from ghee butter. The problem is you're not going to eat enough ghee butter for this to do what it's supposed to do. You'd have to eat like a gallon of ghee butter every day, and I can't recommend you to do that. That's not
well,
good.
you could. That'd be silly.
Yeah, but the butyrate has been proven to help heal and seal our gut. We know that some 95% of people that eat the standard American diet that have stress and that have had medications in their lifetime have a condition known as leaky gut syndrome. So butyrate helps heal and seal the gut. It also helps immune system regulation, and it helps the nerves heal. So those core four nutrients, if people would just do that, if they would add the intermittent fasting into their lifestyle, eating anti-inflammatory type foods, basically fruits, vegetables, and clean protein and good healthy fat, and that hydration, those three steps right there, Scott, would be huge. But there's more.
So, go ahead. Well, let me stop you for a second, because you and I have talked about this a lot, but I don't ever recall talking about butyrate before. What's the easiest, best way to get that?
There's a nutritional product called BioMyX with vitamin A, D, and K in it. BioMyX. It is what we did with that formula is there's a nutrient in there called tributyrin. Tributyrin it's basically three butyric acids put together with a carbon molecule so that when you eat it, it doesn't break down in the stomach. It absorbs in the gut where it's supposed to. That product has changed the lives of millions and millions of people across the globe by healing and sealing their gut. Because if your gut is bad, you're going to have anxiety, depression, insomnia, fatigue, chronic pain. I mean, skin issues, the list goes on and on and on and on. That butyric acid and butyrate is a game changer, Scott, for people.
Okay. Now I know where to go. So, okay. Next pillar.
Number four, movement. I mean, we now know that if you don't move it, you lose it, right? But what we also know is sitting is now known as the new smoking. If our body's not moving, our body is degrading. There was a Nobel Prize winning doctor back in the late 80s, early 90s, Roger Sperry, that won a Nobel Prize where he found that movement to the body, especially the spine, is the number one nutrient for the brain. So if you want to keep your brain functioning and reduce your risk of Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, and neurological degradation, we've got to get our body moving. And not just go to the chiropractor to get adjusted, but 10 to 15 minutes a day of just a walk has been proven to reduce heart disease, cancers, diabetes, stroke, and reduce the risk of those neurological degenerative issues immensely. So just moving, but we don't do that, right? We don't do that enough. So that's number four. Number five is breathing. And people say, wait a minute, breathing, I breathe, I was born breathing. Yeah, but you don't breathe right. Most people breathe with their upper neck and chest and not their diaphragm. So if everybody watching right now or listening right now can do this, and it's safe for you to do, take one hand, put it on your belly button, take another hand, put it on your chest, and everybody take a deep breath in. Your bottom hand is the one that's supposed to go out, not the one up top. If you breathe and you do this, that means you're breathing with your neck muscles. You're not going to get oxygen to your brain, which causes hypoxia, which leads to neurodegradation. That can cause numbness, tingling in the fingers, toes, and feet. That can cause slurring of the words. Low oxygen over time slowly kills the body. So go look up, go online, and you can YouTube diaphragmatic breathing exercises. Do those once or twice a day. Game changer, especially now when people are so worried about their respiratory health. Doing those breathing exercises to strengthen the muscle of respiration is a game changer. And the other that I like to make a reference for is there's a YouTube channel by a guy named Wim Hof. Wim Hof has breathing techniques that are yoga breathing that you can do at home. It's free and it will help you improve overall health and well-being. That's a big one. The last one is sleep. And I used to be so guilty of this. Scott, I was one of those guys that I would say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, let me tell you something. That's not a good idea. All that means is you're going to be sleeping a lot faster than you want to be. We're supposed to, depending upon our age and activity, get between 5 to 8 hours of sleep a day. The younger you are and older you are, the more sleep you need. These groups right here, between 0 and 18, and then really again around 50s and up, need that 8 hours of sleep a day. When we're 20s to 30s, late 40s, and some of us, because our hormones and metabolism are still good, we can get away with about 4 to 5 hours and be okay with that. The problem is most people don't sleep well because they're so stressed out. And when we sleep is when we heal. So if you have to take a drug to sleep, or a Tylenol, NyQuil, PM, whatever, you're not getting good quality sleep. I love using nutritional products like L-theanine. I love using things like GABA. I love using things like melatonin. We put together a nutritional product that people can look at called Shut-Eye. And Shut-Eye stimulates a part of your brain called the parasympathetic nervous system. You take it at night, so it helps you stimulate the part of the brain that allows you to rest, relax, grow, develop, and heal. It's just common sense, because most of the day our gas pedal's stuck on go. We're go, 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 go. That's why you can't rest, relax, grow, develop, and heal. So if we can sleep right, those are the keys. Those 6 pillars of health right there. Those are really the big ones. And if you can put those into play, that by itself can change your life and change it forever. But here's the key. You have to be consistent. What you consistently do in life, you get. If you consistently do bad things, you're going to get a negative result. If you consistently do the right things, you get a positive. It's just simple math, So those are the main big pillars. If your audience can put those into play, those big things into play, they can start shifting their life. Now, sometimes people need other specific nutrients and specific exercises, but that's the base. If you can just start doing that, that'll help about 80 to 90% of your audience improve the quality of their health in their body.
Well, and I totally agree with you. That's where the start is. I used to ask, or I still ask from time to time, by a show of hands, how many of you plan on staying in your body the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's good. Right? Yeah.
And so what are you doing about it? Right.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm, as guilty of sitting with the COVID 15 as many other, it went from being the freshman 15 to the COVID 15.
Right. Yeah.
Because we've changed our process and things like that. So that's why I'm extremely excited that we're back out walking around and doing live events and doing a variety of different things that way. From that side, obviously, Eric, you're so passionate about this, and that's why I respect you so much. Not only your passion, but your knowledge of this and your desire to disseminate that knowledge. I mean, you truly want to get it out there for the good of all.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Well, I got to tell you, everything comes from God to me. I mean, that's just the reality of it. He all made us with our own special divine providence. And all I know is once you know who you serve and who you are, my job is to teach, reach, inspire, and motivate as many people as we can. I mean, if it says in the Bible that knowledge is power, I'm supposed to help give people knowledge, right?
Right.
I can't make you have wisdom and do it. That's not my job. My job is to give you that. But I'll also tell you, when I was a kid being raised on a farm in central Illinois, just working all the time, my parents instilled into me, if you have the ability to do something, you have the responsibility to do it. And that's why, Scott, you mentioned this at the beginning of our program. I was one of the first doctors that stood up and said, hey, this whole COVID thing, something doesn't smell right. It doesn't make sense. The science doesn't support what they're telling us. And now here we are 2 years later, and the powers that be have now saying, well, the science has changed. No, it hasn't. The science remains the same. They just weren't either intelligent enough, informed enough, or incorruptible enough to understand to do the right things. And I mean, think about this. When we came out and said, hey, there's a 150-year-old remedy to reduce flu and cold-like illnesses, the world lost its mind. I mean, not the world, but the mainstream media lost its mind and started going after doctors like myself that were telling people, hey, vitamin D, zinc, certain drugs, let's lose some weight. Let's get our blood sugar under control. Now the narrative is, I mean, we even have the powers that be saying, hey, you should take vitamin D and zinc. In fact, one of my close friends got nominated. You can't make this up. He got nominated for a Nobel Prize for the same protocol that I recommended, that let's just say that the powers that be were not excited about it first, because I was the first one to say it. And as well as I do, when you are in any industry or anything in life, when you're the first one to lead a charge with something, you're the first one to get praised, but you're also the first one to get shot at. And
Exactly.
but the reality is that when the truth, and when God's blessed me with a lot of understanding and passion. And with this type of information, I have a almost photographic memory. I can tell you what day, what journal, where it's at, and you can go back and recite it. I've got that gift to talk about that when it comes to health and wellness type stuff. So, I've never said anything that we can't back up and support with oodles and oodles and oodles of research and data. In fact, I've traveled all over this country I've met with 8 different governors, talking to them about their policies and how they really don't have the data that they need to make policy decisions, especially on things like some of these lockdowns and masking. And now you're seeing that everything that we've been showing them for 2 years, now they're going, oh, wait a minute. Now this is right all of a sudden, right? You see what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to impress anybody, but I'm trying to impress upon you that when you find your passion, you find what you're supposed to do, you need to, just like your program is, it's about lifting that up. It's like It says in Ephesians, I always say every day I get up and I put on the entire armor of God, right? Because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and rulers in dark places. And then when there's nothing left to do but stand, you stand. And in the Bible, when it talks about standing, it's standing at the ready, not with your thumb in your mouth and scratching your hiney. It's ready to roll for whatever God puts in front of you. So anyway.
No, I mean, I really appreciate that, because that's really what lifting up champions is all about. Champions are certainly folks like you. You're obviously a champion in the industry and champion for so many people's well-being and their good. But also, the stories that are either undertold or untold that need to be told. Don't, on one side, don't believe everything. Take it under critical evaluation, right? I mean, now that being said, I know from the day you and I met, I was like, holy shnikes, I can't catch up to the knowledge this dude's got, and I thought I had a fair amount. Not trying to claim anywhere close to what you have. But what I could see is your passion and your desire to share this in such a way to be of service to others. And that becomes the king, because that's again, this show is about truth.
Yeah.
It comes down to a conversation backstage one day between Zig Ziglar and Les Brown. And Les said, Zig, every time we go to a city, you give the exact same talk. I always change my material. I keep it fresh, but you use the same damn stuff. I said, well, he goes, why? And Zig said 2 reasons. Number one, the people in this city haven't heard this message and they need to. But more importantly, I teach truth, and truth never changes.
Yeah.
And that's really what Uplifting Champions is about, is truth never changes. The stories need to get out. They're either untold or undertold, or, again, you have worked so diligently for the greater good. And so I'm honored to call you friend, number one, but just love what you're doing. And I want to do whatever I can do with the talents and capabilities I've been granted to help forward your efforts. Does that make
Well, I'm
sense?
humble. I'm
That's where
humbled
we
by
should all
that.
be, right?
Yeah, of course. And that's what we should be doing. That's what community with unity does. We work together to help benefit the global community, right? I mean, and the knowledge, like that's the thing. I just, to me, that is the most important commodity, knowing what to do. But then the key is doing it. I preach a lot at my church, and one of the most common sermons we talk about is praying while shuffling your feet. You pray for your opportunities and pray for your blessings, but if you don't take action steps to create the reality that you want, it's like God goes, I gave it to you, you just didn't go get it. It's right there. Like, what do you want? And so there is a lot of truth out there. And I just, what I really want is I want people to be able to have discernment. God gave us free will. He gave it to us. Nobody can take that away. We have to freely give it away. And if you've given it away, I'm going to encourage all of you right now that you can take it back in a heartbeat. It's yours. It's yours to own. And so when you get, like Scott, what you're saying, with all the information that's out there, what you should be doing is soaking everything up and then asking questions. And I would be leery of individuals that will not respond to questions, because here's the reality. The truth never has a problem coming out and answering questions. When you lie, the lying is what always stays away from the questions. We've been trying to have questions with, let's just say, the other side of arguments in the health and wellness space for a long time. And it's funny how all we hear are crickets. Nobody wants to have a conversation. It's only a monologue. And whenever somebody's telling you to do something and not going like this and going, let's have a conversation, my Holy Spirit and my little spidey sense starts tingling and going, hey, something ain't right here, Jack,
Yeah, exactly. There's, again, just it's about getting information out for people's consideration, not telling them to do one thing or another necessarily. But the question is, again, another thing I do in a lot of talks is, by a show of hands, how many of you don't know what you don't know? Is it fair to say that somebody knows what you don't know? Is it even possible that I might know what you don't know? So suspend disbelief for a few moments. That's, again, what we want to do with the shows. We want to get good information out here. I know that it's really funny because you just said 1,000 IU of D3. I thought I was doing good, man. I've been taking 5,000 for a year and a half, or year and almost 2 years now. And all of a sudden you're like, dang. So I got to get on that. But I mean, I think that's if people would just listen to some critical information. Now, through all that, been fine, and not wearing masks, and of course we're living in the country of Texas, so
well, here's what, let me just say something about, and I don't want to get, I'm just going to give you some truth, okay? And that's all that there is to it. Like, this new talking point that's out there that people are saying, well, the science has changed. Well, no, the science hasn't changed. We've known since the beginning of putting masks on people. Like when I did my minor surgery training, when I was going through school, we learned that once you touch a mask, that the mask is ruined, that they're one and done. We learned that whenever you cough, sneeze, or breathe, you keep your head moving forward. You don't turn your head because viruses go out. We know that we wear a mask in surgery to protect us from spitting into an open wound. They don't protect us from viruses, bugs, or bacteria. We've known that for a long time. So it's weird to me how, my over $1 million of education that I've physically spent on becoming a primary care chiropractor and internist, all the stuff that we do in a nature path, all that just all of a sudden is thrown out of the window because the science has changed. No, it hasn't. And then, the whole idea with lockdowns, we're now seeing reports across America of a 40% increase in fatalities among 18 to 49-year-old men and women. That's not related to them getting sick. It's because of societal changes, right? Everything has a ripple effect. And we came out and said, no. And now Johns Hopkins comes out and says, hey, these lockdowns only actually worked 0.2%. Like 0.2%. We told you that 2 years ago. So I guess my big thing is people need to understand is the folks who got you into this problem cannot be the folks that get you out of this problem. Just like you talked about, when you speak, it's all about surround yourself with people that think and act differently so you can get a different result. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different result. We've been living in an insane asylum. Well, some people have, you in the great country of Texas and us in the great country of Missouri haven't been. But unfortunately, a lot of people have been held captive against fear, false evidence appearing real. And so, 2020, I'll just give you this. This has been a blessing because 2020 was the year, in my opinion, of 2020 vision, clarity, certainty. The people who needed to see what's going on, see it. And now the one thing that people are looking for is how can I take personal responsibility again for me, which is what we should have been doing in the first place for my health, my wealth, my happiness, and my future. It's up to me, not up to the government or whoever else that's out there. So that is to me a really inspiring thing. But the reality of it is, and we talked about this before the show, the big shift is people are now looking for, who do I look to for mentorship and leadership? Right. Who do I look for guidance? Who are the people that sniffed this out at the beginning and said, no, something ain't right? Those are the individuals that I feel you should be following in a community, not as an idol, but as part of a community where you can get information and have dialogue back and forth with, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, that's tremendous wisdom for sure. I totally agree with you. Again, the opportunity, there truly is a reawakening. And quite frankly, the vast majority of us, and I'll throw my hat in the ring there, became complacent with information, with a variety of different things. But then when enough's enough, when you stop down, it's like when I got into chiropractic, I was the chiropractic antichrist. But then, when I couldn't sleep on my right side, but I could sleep on my left, I still didn't need to go. When I could press the accelerator with my left foot, but not the right, I still didn't need to go. But when I couldn't carry my golf bag, enough was enough.
Yeah.
Right. So there becomes that moment, right? That says, I've had enough of this. And I'm going to, like you say, it becomes down to personal responsibility. I'm going to stop down long enough to critically think about a few things. And I'm going to take this information, not 100% of it at full face value, but I will consider it and critically evaluate it. And again, I thank you for your commitment to what you've done to share truth. And again, I so appreciate you for that. I know you're on the Reawaken America tour with Clay Clark, and you're going from city to city. Next one's in Ohio, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got Canton, Ohio coming up. I believe it's the 17th and 18th or 18th and 19th of February. This is an exciting one. We're excited. Tim Tebow is going to be there joining us on this one.
Very cool.
Really super cool. And then every month we've got one. So people can go to thrivetimeshow.com and kind of see where that tour is right there. And listen, I'm traveling to help educate. Like, that's why, listen, I need to be traveling around the country talking like I need a hole in the head. I got enough stuff to do. But listen, all of us in life have a responsibility when you have the ability to do something, and so my family has agreed and committed that, this is the time, Eric, that you need to be out there telling the truth to the world, because if not us, who? And if not now, when? And I've got 3 children, and I want my children's children to have a life and grow up like you and I grew up. I want to have freedom to choose. I want to know my rights. I want to know the rules of the game, because what's so cool is when you understand the rules of the game, life becomes easier and more fun to play the game, Scott. And that's really what we're out there teaching.
Absolutely. Well, I know you find it hard to believe we've blown through our time, but we'll have to do more shows. It's just the way it works. I always love being with you. How about one last little bit of wisdom, and how do people get a hold of you and reach out?
Well, first of all, I just want to encourage everybody to know that God is in control, right? And there's a lot of amazing people, including you out there listening, that know what needs to be done and are ready to step up and to make this year the best year of your life, and to help break those generational curses of sickness, disease, and poverty complex, and all the stuff that's out there that's unnecessary on this life. God said that we're supposed to have life and have it more abundantly. So we're going to be doing that, teaching that. So plug in with what Scott's got going on here. Lifting Up Champions is amazing. I'm honored to be here. You guys can find me at ericnepute.com. That's ERICNEPUTE.com. You can also find me at realtalkwithdre.com. That's realtalkwithdre.com. I'm on radio every day telling people the truth for 2 hours, Monday through Friday. So lots of stuff to talk about. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I totally appreciate our friendship, and I appreciate your expertise. You're a rock star, dude. I mean, very
I'm
cool.
humbled by that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
thank you all for joining us here on Lifting Up Champions. We'll have another champion the next show. Join us then. God bless.